The Gateway Arch, built in 1965 to commemorate westward expansion, now points to a different frontier.
In 2080, St. Louis has become Earth's primary spaceport, launching thousands of people and millions.
The city that once served as the gateway to the American West now serves as humanity's gateway to the solar system.
This is the story of how a struggling Rust Belt city became the most important location for... The decline was brutal. By 2030, St. Louis had lost half its peak population. Manufacturing collapsed. Crime soared. The region seemed destined for permanent decay. But crisis created opportunity.
They had nothing to lose. The riverfront was already industrial wasteland.
We need to adjust the angle on this strut by 2 degrees.
All right, I'll recalibrate the jig now.
Make sure the tolerances are within the standard specifications.
And the city was desperate enough to commit completely. NASA chose St. Louis. Everything changed.
The Mississippi River became the construction highway.
Massive rocket components too large for road or rail traveled by barge from manufacturing sites across the Midwest. The river that built St. Louis in the 1800s rebuilt it in the 2000s.
The inland waterway system connected factories in 20 states directly to launch facilities. No coastal spaceport could match that logistics advantage.
Components arrived continuously, assembled rapidly, and launched efficiently. Geography that made St.
Louis trading hub made it spaceport. Rivers don't change, their uses do. St. Louis adapted the Mississippi for the space age.
The launch complex sprawls across 50 square miles of former industrial sites along the river.
Rockets lift off every 4 hours during peak periods.
The thunder of launches became St. Louis's signature sound.
As you can see, students, this is exactly why schools schedule around launch windows. What a view!
It's clearing the tower.
The express train to Neo-Kyoto is now boarding on Platform 7. All passengers, please proceed to the gates.
The nutrient paste is fresh today.
I'll take 2 synth kebabs instead. They actually taste like meat.
The extraordinary becomes ordinary when it happens every day.
The propellant production facilities utilize local resources in unexpected ways. The Midwest's agricultural surplus provides feedstock for bio-derived rocket fuel. Corn becomes propellant. Soybeans become oxidizer. The Farm Belt powers the space fleet. St. Louis sits at the interface between agriculture and aerospace. Rural America literally fuels space exploration. The synergy nobody predicted became competitive advantage nobody could match. Coastal spaceports import fuel. St. Louis grows it. Sustainability through agriculture. Space access through farming. Only in the heartland could that combination work. And work brilliantly. Too large to launch from Earth fully assembled, they're built in orbit from St. Louis launched modules.
The platform employed 15,000 people by 2075. They work in zero gravity but call St. Louis home.
Shift complete on schedule. All systems are nominal.
Acknowledged. We will monitor the atmospheric processors.
Construction began in 2065 on a carbon nanotube tether extending from geostationary orbit to a ground station north of the city.
By 2078, the first elevator became operational. Payloads climbed to orbit without rockets.
The economics of space access transformed overnight. Launch costs dropped by 90%.
What cost millions now costs thousands. The elevator made space accessible to an ordinary African-American man.
St. Louis didn't just launch into space. They built a highway. The Gateway Arch has competition for most iconic structure. The space elevator wins on functionality. All stations report go for launch.
Affirmative. Flight. Trajectory stable.
T-minus 10 seconds.
All systems green. Trajectory confirmed.
Copy that. Control. Beginning final ascent sequence.
Notice how the algebraic substitution directly impacts the orbital decay. A 5% change stabilizes the trajectory perfectly.
Catch me if you can, Hiroki. I'm coming for you. This is better than Mercury.
East Asian children grow up assuming they'll work in aerospace. Many become East Asian astronauts.
When space is your industry, space becomes your identity. Astronaut City isn't where astronauts visit.
It's where they live, where they raise families, where space work is regular work.
Jenkins, procedure.
The bone density readings are still below acceptable parameters for the Mars crew.
We could increase the caloric intake.
The first Mars crew launched from St. Louis spent 2 years in mission preparation here.
Firing maneuvering thrusters. Cable connected.
Roger that. Module secure.
The neural scan shows complete regeneration. You're cleared for the Mars mission.
Fantastic. I feel great.
Because St. Louis launched the most humans, they accumulated the most data. Experience compounds. Early advantage becomes permanent lead.
St. Louis knows more about keeping humans alive in space than anywhere else.
Knowledge attracts more missions. Success breeds success. Exponentially.
And Mark Furtna were Polly Evans.
The tourism industry exploded when space became affordable.
Thank you, team. It's good to be back on Earth.
I think this is my favorite time of day up here. The light is just perfect.
It really is. I'm so glad we decided on this spot. Cheers.
Look at that view of Earth.
It's absolutely stunning. I can't believe we're actually here.
To the stars, my love.
To the journey. We'll be back before you know it.
The city that lost population for decades now draws millions of visitors annually.
Look at it go! It's incredible, absolutely stunning. To the stars!
The Materials Science District manufactures components impossible to produce under gravity.
The sintering array is holding the lattice perfectly.
The structural integrity is exceeding projections.
Perfect ball bearings, flawless crystals, and exotic alloys arrived this way.
Material science advanced by decades because St. Louis created a supply chain connecting space manufacturing to Earth markets.
St. Louis became the broker between Earth and orbit.
It serves as the middleman for off-world manufacturing. Geography is destiny when geography includes the vertical dimension. St. Louis controls that dimension. The Gateway Innovation Park occupies hundreds of acres near the spaceport. Every aerospace company maintains a presence there, not necessarily headquarters, but research facilities, testing grounds, and talent recruitment centers. The concentration of space expertise created a self-reinforcing ecosystem.
The component is secure. We finally stabilized the grasping mechanism.
Excellent work. This data looks promising for the next phase.
If we adjust the calibration here, the schematic rotates smoothly.
Yes, that resolves the alignment issue. The movement is much cleaner now.
St. Louis has both. The density of space knowledge rivals anywhere on Earth.
The plasma propulsion is promising, but the energy requirements are still massive.
True, but look at the specific impulse gains for deep space.
When everyone knows space, innovation accelerates.
What is it? Reroute power to the primary impulse manifold. We need full thrust for the simulation.
Acknowledged. The trajectory holds steady.
The payload is secure, trajectory nominal. Look at that spike.
Lock in the premium now. We just opened the orbital market.
Every launch carries risk. Every risk needs insurance.
St. Louis became the center for space insurance, risk assessment, and liability management.
The failure probability rises to 20% if we apply the new stress factors.
Understood. Their long-term liquidity is strong enough to maintain the current rating, though.
The laser measured 70 meters from the impact zone.
The heat signature suggests a breach long before the detonation.
We agree on the premium then, Captain. May your voyage be swift.
Thank you, sir. I shall see the Britannia sails safely.
St. Louis dominates space insurance. New industries need new financial infrastructure.
St. Louis built that infrastructure first. Being first means writing the rules.
As discussed, this outlines the path forward. Review the execution strategy on page 3.
Understood. We'll ensure the teams adhere strictly to this framework.
The education transformation made St. Louis a world leader in aerospace education.
And if we look closely at Jupiter, you'll notice the Great Red Spot, which is actually a massive storm larger.
Universities offer degree programs found nowhere else. Orbital logistics, space law, extraterrestrial construction, and off-world agriculture.
If we adjust the orbital parameters here, we can see the gravitational effect.
Does that explain the anomaly near Europa?
The data clearly supports the hypothesis we discussed.
Ah, I see it now. That makes much more sense. Thank you.
Brain gain replaced brain drain. Education follows industry. Industry followed geography. Geography favored St. Louis. Everything else followed naturally.
The city's greatest export became educated Caucasian female aerospace professionals. They stayed because St. Louis. The historic preservation movement protected St. Louis's architectural heritage while integrating space infrastructure.
The Gateway Arch remained untouched. Victorian neighborhoods were restored. Forest Park was preserved.
The city learned a painful lesson from urban renewal's mistakes last century.
They wouldn't repeat them. New construction respected the existing character. result was a city that looks like itself while functioning for the space age.
Identity through continuity. Progress through preservation.
St. Louis proved you don't destroy the past to build the future.
You build the future on the foundation of the past. The Cargo Consolidation Hub makes St. Louis the FedEx of space. Small companies can't fill entire rockets. St. Louis consolidates cargo from hundreds of shippers into efficient loads.
There are scheduled departures to orbit, the Moon, and Mars. You can book cargo space like you book freight shipping.
There is no need to charter an entire rocket. The hub democratized space access for small businesses and research labs.
St. Louis became an indispensable middleman. Revenue from consolidation services funds city infrastructure.
Space pays for schools, roads, and public services. Tax revenue from aerospace eliminated city budget problems.
Prosperity comes through logistics. Wealth comes from being where goods flow.
St. Louis mastered that centuries ago. It still works. The defense applications made St. Louis strategically vital. Space Force maintains a major installation here. Satellites launch for military purposes. The city's strategic importance transcends commerce.
National security requires space access. St. Louis provides it.
The military investment brought additional funding and prestige. But it also brought controversy. We argue that this deterrence prevents conflict on Earth and beyond.
We cannot stand by while you turn space into the next battlefield.
The debate continues, but the reality persists. St. Louis launches both commercial and military payloads.
The city doesn't apologize. They launch what customers pay them to launch. We have a pressure drop in Sector Gamma. Reroute the hydraulics immediately.
Acknowledged. Rerouting now. St. Louis confirms the adjustment.
$50,000 tons of regolith at market price.
Buying Heat 3, buying now!
Sell titanium, dropping fast.
We need 50,000 tons of Martian ice.
The price just jumped, but I can only release 30 at that rate.
Space resources became economic reality, not science fiction. And St. Louis controls the markets. They who control the gateway control the trade.
St. Louis controls the gateway to space. Therefore, they control space trade. Simple. Inevitable. Profitable.
The South Asian immigrant population, consisting of various age groups and genders, transformed St. Louis demographics.
Your work on the trajectory optimization really stands out.
The data on the tablet shows the latest projections.
We are very excited to have you join the team.
A city that lost population now grows rapidly.
We will plant the seeds in this row.
أين يمكنني أن أزرع هذا?
Right there, good job.
Here, there.
Yes, that is perfect.
A nossa escola canta, a alegria contagia.
I never thought St. Louis could feel this vibrant.
It's amazing what they've done with the area.
So this basket represents my culture, but seeing all your faces here today shows the wonderful strength that diversity brings to us all.
Mira qué grande está este tomate.
Wow, es perfecto, qué bueno.
The people of St. Louis, including an East Asian family,
welcomed them with kindness and assistance, providing resources and support.
This looks absolutely wonderful. Tell us about this dish.
It's a special family recipe. I am so happy to share it with everyone today.
It smells incredible. I have to try some.
Cultural fusion, powered by aerospace opportunity.
It's even more magnificent than the projections. We made it.
Absolutely
Stunning.
This silk is from my homeland. It took weeks to weave. It's absolutely stunning. The colors are so vibrant together.
The real estate boom turned St. Louis into an expensive city.
Housing prices quintupled between 2050 and 2075.
The affordable city became a premium market.
Prosperity created its own problems.
St. Louis responded with aggressive affordable housing mandates. Inclusionary zoning.
They remembered being abandoned. They wouldn't abandon their own.
The balance remains imperfect. Tension persists between growth and affordability.
But St. Louis tries. They learned from coastal cities' mistakes.
Prosperity without displacement. Growth without exclusion. Easier said than done. Worth attempting. The environmental restoration surprised everyone.
The Mississippi River Remediation Project, backed by aerospace initiatives, transformed these brownfields into
Because modern aerospace demands a clean environment. Propellant production requires pure water.
These growth charts confirm that our green initiatives are paying off.
Absolutely. It's proof that environmental health and economic growth are perfectly aligned.
St. Louis proved they're not contradictory. When done right, they're complementary.
The traffic solution used 3 dimensions: ground vehicles, elevated trains, and aerial shuttles. When your city launches rockets, adding flying cars barely registers.
Vertical transportation became normal. Commuting is 3-dimensional.
The gridlock that plagued other cities never materialized.
Because St. Louis thought vertically from the beginning.
Flying isn't the future in St. Louis. It's the present. It's ordinary.
It's how you get to work. When space is normal, flight is mundane.
Wait, look at this picture he just sent. I can't believe it.
That is ridiculous. All right, you ready to pack up?
A massive shot deep into the center field adapted zone. That ball is gone. A home run for the Cardinals. A massive swing and a drive deep into the dome. He fires the Jets, and he's got it. The crowd goes wild here at Busch.
that move. Pure Jordan, even with the jet assist.
Absolutely incredible. Best game this cycle.
Appreciate both. St. Louis kept its sports culture while adding a space dimension. Literally.
St. Louis teams dominate off-world competitions. Home field advantage when home field is where you train for space conditions.
The successful first brew in orbit.
Absolutely perfect. Cheers.
Sounds frivolous.
But alcohol production tests life support systems. If you can brew beer in space, you can grow food.
The experiments weren't about drinking. They were about survival.
But they also produced excellent beer. Space-brewed Budweiser became a premium product.
Sold on Earth for astronomical prices, St. Louis beer culture went orbital. Heritage industry becomes space industry. Only in St. Louis does that sentence make sense.
Only in St. Louis does it need to.
The disaster preparedness took on new meaning.
We've got a breach in the main fuel cell. Stabilize the area.
Understood. Moving in with the neutralization team now.
Increase the plasma flow rate.
Vitals stabilizing.
Attention, citizens. This is a mandatory evacuation drill. Proceed to the nearest transport hub.
Tested warning systems. Aerospace brought risks. St. Louis prepared accordingly.
But the preparations proved valuable beyond space accidents.
Approaching stranded individuals. Deploying retrieval arm.
Please hurry. The current is getting stronger.
Clamping complete. Welcome aboard.
Disaster preparation is disaster preparation. It doesn't matter if the threat is a rocket explosion or a river flood.
Readiness is readiness.
St. Louis became the most prepared city in America for everything.
Because they prepared for anything. The communication hub emerged naturally.
When you coordinate launches, orbital operations, lunar activities, and Mars missions, you need massive communication infrastructure.
St. Louis became the data hub for all space activities. Quantum encrypted links.
The communication systems served space, but they also provided the fastest internet on Earth.
Gigabit speeds in 2040, terabit speeds in 2060, exabit speeds in 2080.
It's beautiful out here today, Stephen. The new ArchNet update is flawless.
I know, right? I'm seeing the same thing on my end.
A side benefit of being a spaceport, space elevates everything, including internet speeds.
Admiralty centrifugal law. The existing Admiralty laws do not cover exospheric salvage rights.
We must.
When disputes arise over orbital slot rights, asteroid mining claims, or lunar property boundaries,
They're adjudicated in St. Louis.
The city became the seat of space law. The International Space Court was established here in 2068.
the precedent set on Kepler 186F clearly applies here.
As we discuss asteroid mining rights, remember the Tranquility Treaty of 2242.
The city that launches spacecraft also adjudicates space disputes. Jurisdiction follows geography. It emerged naturally. First mover advantage in launching became first mover advantage in regulating.
Power flows from multiple sources. St. Louis accumulated them all.
We've adapted our approach
specifically for the demands of deep space missions, focusing on resilience training.
I don't know how we're going to manage this deployment. It's just too much pressure.
The specialized counseling here in St. Louis really helps us handle the constant worry.
Coming back, the gravity is not just physical. Everything feels heavier, louder.
Yeah. That's a very common feeling, James. Thank you for sharing that with us.
The mental demands of space work required mental health infrastructure. St. Louis built it.
The structural integrity here allows for rapid deployment. We can engineer these quickly.
True, but that's the issue. Technology advances much faster than our psychology.
You can't engineer human resilience as fast.
Both necessary.
Both valued, both funded.
Mental health matters in a space city.
St. Louis, confirm reprioritization of the eastern debris field. We are initiating evasive maneuver.
Confirmed. Trajectory is clear. We have green status.
St. Louis heavy salvage. Engaging target derelict satellite.
Confirmed. Utilize cutting laser on joint nexus.
Not glamorous. Absolutely essential.
Mayday. Catastrophic debris impact. Warning. Secondary fragmentation approaching.
Prevention is survival. St. Louis took responsibility because they launched the most.
The scale of this e-waste is staggering. We must find a sustainable method.
Look, the robotic sorters are exceeding projections. We did it.
Corporate responsibility, civic duty, practical necessity.
Stewardship matters. St. Louis understood that.
Looks like the Spirit is docking right on schedule. Yeah, Shuttle Bay 3. Think we'll be on it next month? Only if the phase stabilizers are ready.
Everything looks good from down here, Commander. The resupply window is green for 0400 Zulu.
And so we see that colonization is not just feasible, but essential for the long-term survival of our species among the stars.
That psychological shift matters immensely.
Set a course for the center of the nebula. Engage.
Not because it's an extraordinary achievement, because it's what people do.
Normalized ambition creates realized ambition.
St. Louis children don't dream of going to space.
They assume it. That assumption will take humanity farther than any rocket. Belief creates reality.
Look, the new trajectory just updated, and the St. Louis hub is coordinating everything.
Every Mars mission launches from here.
Every adult East Asian male Mars settler trains here. Mission control for Mars operations sits in St. Louis.
Welcome to the embassy. Honor a delegation.
Ambassador,
It is good to finally set foot on Martian soil.
Our autonomy is non-negotiable. The Martian people have spoken.
We understand, Senator, but the resource implications for Earth must be addressed.
Not Washington, not Geneva, St. Louis. Because they're the gateway. They control access.
Geography is destiny, even in the space age. Actually, especially in the space age.
The city that controls the gateway controls the relationship.
Confirmation received, St. Louis. The shipment of personnel and supplies is secured.
Thank you.
That dependence creates influence.
St. Louis doesn't govern Mars.
But Mars listens when St. Louis speak. The economic multiplier effect means every aerospace job creates 7 additional jobs.
This food is amazing, as always.
Yeah, but look at that noise. When will they finish building the new tower?
They are working fast, maybe next year.
It's so convenient having the school and the clinic right here.
Yes, the doctor said the checkup went smoothly. The kids love it here.
Entertainment serves stressed engineers. The space industry amplified the entire economy. St. Louis's GDP grew 15-fold between 2045 and 2080, not just from aerospace.
From everything aerospace enabled. Economic development experts study St. Louis as a model.
Through rapid innovation and sustainable development, we revitalize the city, turning industrial decay into a beacon of progress. Find your advantage, commit completely, and execute relentlessly.
St. Louis did that. One industry transformed everything.
That's the power of focus. The cultural productions celebrate space.
We didn't come all this way to fail now. This red dust is our home, and we will protect it no matter the cost.
Your launch sequence gives us the crescendo we needed.
And your score captures the gravity assist beautifully.
The culture industry and the space industry reinforced each other. Space provided content.
St. Louis isn't just a spaceport. It's a civilization thinking about what space means.
That reflection matters as much as the rockets, maybe more.
The dramatic shift you see today means we can finally address the needs of the people of St. Louis from a position of strength.
Space policy determines humanity's future. St. Louis determines space policy.
This infrastructure investment is crucial for the regional economy.
We've secured the votes necessary for passage next quarter.
Because they represent interests that matter globally.
When you control space access, you control the conversation about space.
The political transformation came with responsibility.
Since these national and international decisions run through us, we must be decisive. I'm signing off on the revised draft.
The mistakes were significant, but the successes overwhelming. Political influence follows economic importance. Always has. Always will.
By adjusting the thermal shielding here, we reduce the re-entry friction significantly.
But what about the structural integrity at that velocity?
The structural integrity here is paramount.
Check the oxygen levels before initiating the sequence.
This strategy will help you navigate the corporate landscape.
If you look at the schematics here, the original design called for steel reinforcement.
And these archives confirm the historical context of the neighborhood.
Wisdom shared. St. Louis understood. Aerospace expertise takes decades to develop. You don't let that walk away.
There it goes, right on schedule.
Absolutely beautiful every time. Look at that thrust.
Attend briefings. Provide advice. Stay engaged. It's not just humanitarian.
its economic strategy. Knowledge retention through community integration.
Everyone wins. Retirees stay relevant. Industry stays informed. St. Louis stays smart.
The religious responses varied dramatically. Some churches celebrated space exploration as divine mandate.
It is pure arrogance to believe we can simply abandon Earth.
But the scripture says we must expand.
Expand, not escape our responsibilities here.
Does humanity have the right to colonize other worlds? Is space exploration stewardship or hubris?
The questions lack easy answers. St. Louis became a center for space theology.
Seminary programs study human meaning in a cosmic context. The city that sends people to space also asks whether they should.
We need to focus on the people right here in St. Louis. What about home base?
Feed the city, not the stars.
Diversity of thought matters. Progress requires questioning. St. Louis asks the hard questions while launching the rockets.
The supply chain resilience became a national security priority. St. Louis could not fail.
If St. Louis stopped launching, space activities would cease. That single-point failure worried defense planners. But redundancy proved impossible. You can't replicate decades of infrastructure investment quickly. Instead, St. Louis received unprecedented protection and support. Critical systems had triple redundancy. Cybersecurity rivaled nuclear facilities. Physical security was military grade. St. Louis became too important to fail. That designation brought resources and restrictions. Freedom decreased as importance increased. St. Louis accepted the trade-off. They carried the responsibility for humanity's presence in space. They didn't take it lightly.
The autonomous systems revolution started in St. Louis. Launch operations require split-second timing.
T-minus 30 seconds. All systems nominal. AI flight control active. AI flight control 10.
The partnership works because each does what they do best.
St. Louis became a testbed for human-AI collaboration. Lessons learned launching rockets were applied everywhere.
Jobs changed but didn't disappear. Caucasian humans of varying ages and genders focused on judgment and creativity.
Look at the Q3 projections. The automation integration is working better than expected.
Agreed. The balance is perfect.
When implemented thoughtfully, the water management innovation emerged from necessity.
Launches consume enormous amounts of water for cooling. St. Louis developed closed-loop water systems recovering 98%.
The technology proved valuable beyond aerospace. Municipal water systems adopted it. Industries licensed it.
And St. Louis became a water technology exporter. The conservation technology developed for space applications improved Earth sustainability. Space problems create Earth solutions. This pattern repeated constantly. Closed-loop agriculture fed cities. Space research benefited Earth. St. Louis proved the return on investment.
Every dollar spent on space returns 7 to the Earth economy. St. Louis collected through VESIT. We understand the concerns regarding the northern border.
But this resource allocation is unacceptable.
Yeah.
If we adjust the quotas, we can reach a compromise.
We must insist on the priority launch slots
Outlined in the agreement.
Our program requires guaranteed access.
Indian space ventures want contracts. St. Louis became a diplomatic as well as technical hub. Launch scheduling is geopolitics.
Orbital slot assignment is international relations. St. Louis learned diplomacy by necessity.
You can't run a global spaceport without global cooperation. The city developed a diplomatic corps rivaling the State Department. It became neutral ground for space powers to negotiate. Switzerland of space. That neutral position created influence.
Everyone needed St. Louis. St. Louis needed everyone to cooperate. Mutual dependence created mutual respect.
Mostly.
Mining ships are too massive to launch fully assembled and must be built in pieces.
The fleet departs every launch window. Ships heading to asteroids for platinum, gold, rare earths, and water ice.
St. Louis built the ships. St. Louis gets a percentage of the profits. Asteroid mining transformed from science fiction to profitable industry.
And St. Louis financed it, built it, and launched it. The wealth returning from the belt flows through St. Louis first.
Percentage points on trillions equal billions. Asteroid mining made St. Louis the wealthiest city per capita in America. Space literally pays. St. Louis banks the checks. The fashion industry adapted to space aesthetics.
This St. Louis team turned functional spacewear into high fashion.
Welcome everyone to St. Louis Fashion Week in orbit. We begin tonight with our groundbreaking Earth collection.
The city's fashion industry serves both planets and space stations. It is a niche market, but incredibly lucrative.
This chess piece alone utilizes a new alloy synthesized in zero-G. It truly is a masterpiece, custom fitted to your exact specifications.
Fashion follows function. Function follows environment. The environment is increasingly off-world.
St. Louis fashion leads because St. Louis lives space reality daily.
Thanks to advancements in orbital agriculture, we can now grow nutrient-rich superfoods right here in the city.
Long-duration space travel requires compact, nutritious food.
The algae protein is the key differentiator here.
Absolutely. It allows for complete nutrition in a compact form.
Technology transferred to Earth. Hunger relief programs use space food technology. Disaster relief depends on compact rations developed for astronauts.
Military field rations improved dramatically. Space nutrition became Earth nutrition.
Space research justifies itself through Earth applications. Again,
St. Louis proves it daily.
The banking sector specializes in space finance.
Loans for spacecraft construction.
Confirming the asteroid mining investment. Ensure the space cargo insurance is locked in.
St. Louis banks handle all of it. They developed expertise no other financial center possesses.
How do you value an asteroid mining claim?
How do you assess risk for a Mars colony investment? What interest rate applies to a 20-year spacecraft loan?
We've created the financial instruments for the new space economy.
Yeah.
Because the city that launches the spacecraft should also finance them.
Complete vertical integration. Control the launch platform. Control the financing. Control the industry.
St. Louis executes that strategy perfectly. The Veterans Programs support astronauts transitioning from space careers.
Orbital work damages bodies, radiation exposure, bone density loss, muscle atrophy.
St. Louis provides it.
Medical treatment, career transition services, mental health support.
Society owes a debt to explorers. St. Louis pays it. Not from altruism alone, from pragmatism.
To attract talent by treating people well throughout the career life cycle. St. Louis learned that. By supporting our East Asian female workers, we create a virtuous cycle that attracts top talent. Compassion and strategy truly align here.
Atmospheric processors removing carbon. Weather modification satellites. All launched from St. Louis. All controlled from St. Louis.
City became center for planetary scale engineering. Climate change requires large-scale response.
Space provides platform for that response. St. Louis launches the solutions. Controversial? Absolutely.
Necessary? Arguably. Profitable? Definitely. Climate engineering created entire industry. St. Louis dominates it.
They have the launch capacity. They have the expertise. They have the political backing. Climate solution or climate hubris?
Depends who you ask. Either way, St. Louis controls the technology.
That control equals power. The vibration analysis nearly killed me.
I barely slept this week.
I still have 3 models to review tonight.
This simulation is incredible.
I know, I almost forgot we were floating.
Entertainment industry boomed alongside aerospace. Young professionals need release. St. Louis provides it.
The cultural transformation from declining Midwest city to international entertainment destination shocked observers.
But it makes sense. Concentration of young, wealthy African-American non-binary professionals creates entertainment demand.
Louis met that demand. Pragmatically, profitably, thoroughly. The particle physics research leveraged space access.
Experiments requiring vacuum conditions run in orbit. Particle accelerators operate in space where interference is minimal.
Louis became center for space-based physics research. Universities coordinate experiments. Companies manufacture equipment.
Look at the decay chain. The energy signature is stable.
It worked. We have confirmation. The collider achieved resonance.
Discoveries about fundamental reality happen overhead.
It's about conducting research impossible on Earth. St. Louis enables that research. Scientific advancement through space access.
Knowledge through altitude. Understanding through leaving Earth. The social stratification emerged inevitably. African-American space workers earn more, enjoy more privileges, live better. Resentment from East Asian non-aerospace workers grows.
We built this city from the ground to the stars. We demand equality now. Equal rights. Equal rights.
The space for all movement demands benefits be shared. The city struggles with inequality created by its own success.
Aerospace workers earn them their positions through education and skill. But not everyone can be an aerospace engineer.
Society needs other workers too. They deserve dignity and a decent living. St. Louis attempts balance, progressive taxation.
Universal services. It's not enough. It's never enough. Inequality persists. The cost of success.
Astronauts killed in accidents. Engineers who sacrificed health. Workers who died.
Today we remember these names. They taught us the true cost of the progress we see around us every day.
They're honest. Space is dangerous. People die. We honor them. We learn from failures. We can
celebrate courage, mourn loss, and continue their mission. That honesty builds trust. People accept risk when risk is acknowledged. St. Louis acknowledges everything.
The intellectual property battles consume courts constantly.
Who owns technology developed for space?
The company that funded it, the engineers who created it, the government that enable it. Patents on space technology are viciously contested.
St. Louis became the center for IP litigation. Billions depend on patent outcomes. Law firms specializing in space IP cluster downtown.
The legal battles are as intense as the technical challenges.
Innovation creates wealth. Wealth creates
St. Louis courts resolve space IP disputes. Precedents set here govern globally.
Legal power follows technical power. St. Louis has both.
City shapes law while launching spacecraft. Complete dominance of the space sector. The generational shift changes everything. First generation built the space industry. Second generation perfected it. Third generation, born after 2060, knows nothing else.
Space is our normal. Earth is our history. We don't ask, should humanity go to space?
Where in space should we prioritize?
I see.
It's home. It's home. They plan careers assuming a multi-planetary economy.
St. Louis produced that generation, children of the space.
Because they don't know limits previous generations accepted. Ignorance of constraints enables breakthroughs.
Propellant loading sequence is almost complete. All green on the automated safety checks.
Confirmed. Trajectory looks nominal.
St. Louis responded with retraining programs and a universal basic income funded by aerospace profits. Automation creates wealth.
Wealth funds transition. Nobody starves because robots took jobs. They retrain or receive support. Controversial?
You can manage transition humanely. St. Louis tries. Not perfectly, but earnestly.
Space industry requires massive power. Fossil fuels are insufficient and polluting. Nuclear fission.
St. Louis invested early, attracted fusion research, built the first commercial reactors. By 2080,
Energy independence became energy dominance. Aerospace drove energy innovation. Energy abundance enabled aerospace expansion.
Virtuous cycle. Each advance enables the next. St. Louis proves that concentrated ambition in one excellence creates wealth. Wealth enables further focus. Exponential growth through strategic.
What is humanity's purpose? What does it mean to be human?
Should we change ourselves to survive on another world? The daily work of space exploration forces practical philosophy.
The question before us is profound. Should we genetically modify our citizens for life on Mars? And what are the true consequences of such an act?
St. Louis will be the place making these decisions because it is sending the people.
Ethics follows technology, and St. Louis holds the tech.
It is an uncomfortable position, but also a necessary one. Someone has to decide, and geography has chosen St. Louis.
the philosophical transformation changes how St. Louis thinks about humanity. When you launch people to Mars, you inevitably confront big questions.
What is humanity's purpose? What does it mean to be human? Should we change ourselves to survive on another world?
If we follow the primary vector, the resource cost rises exponentially. The ethical flowchart indicates unnecessary deviations. The ethical implications of altering the human genome for Martian colonization cannot be overstated. We must.
St. Louis will be the place making these decisions because it is sending the people. Ethics follows technology, and St. Louis holds the technology.
Therefore, St. Louis must grapple with the ethical burden. It is an uncomfortable position, but also a...
The tourist has evolved beyond rocket launches.
Zero-gravity simulators became major attractions. The Gateway Arch observation deck now offers a view of the spaceport.
Restaurants began serving astronaut food. Hotels were designed with spacecraft themes. St. Louis turned into a space-themed park.
Millions of Hispanic elderly female tourists visit every year. Tourism revenues now rival those of the aerospace industry.
Space experiences became democratized. If you can't afford an actual space flight, you can come to St. Louis instead.
You can experience a simulation that feels close enough for most people. The tourism industry makes space accessible.
Not everyone can go to space, but everyone can visit St. Louis. The second best option becomes good enough.
The atmospheric data confirms the success of the geoengineering project.
This is Space Station News, reporting live on the New Alliance Treaty.
You can't cover space from New York or Los Angeles. You cover it from St. Louis. The media presence amplifies St. Louis's influence.
What happens in St. Louis becomes global news. Launches are streamed live worldwide. St. Louis became the media capital for space-related content.
Hollywood opened production studios here. Streaming services established space programming divisions here. Content follows the story.
St. Louis is proud to present the future of humanity, the colonization of Mars. Join us among the stars.
Wields soft power through media dominance. It exerts cultural influence through content production. The critical voices remain important.
We cannot prioritize.
We cannot prioritize off-world colonization while ignoring the ecological crises right here at home.
We have no inherent right to impose our will on other worlds. We must first learn to respect this one.
Exactly.
But surely expansion is part of human nature.
It encourages debate. Criticism makes consensus stronger. Challenges force justification. St. Louis doesn't suppress critics, it engages them.
That's healthy. Democracy requires dissent. Progress requires criticism.
St. Louis accepts both. Even as rockets launch. As long as Earth has gravity and space doesn't, St. Louis will launch. Geography is...
They prepared for that permanence. Long-term planning, sustainable systems, 100-year infrastructure.
Confidence earned through performance. They proved themselves. Now they build for permanence.
The space age spans centuries. St. Louis positioned itself for the entire duration.
St. Louis isn't sprinting. They're running a marathon. One, they'll win. St. Louis in 2080.
The city that seemed finished found purpose in space.
That struggling cities can transform. That the future belongs to those who build it, not those who inherit it.
St. Louis earned their position through decades of commitment, billions in investment, and unwavering belief that space mattered.
They were right. Space matters.
St. Louis became exactly what they claimed to see, the gateway to space. From here,